And if you're new here, welcome to First Love Yourself, where love, life, and Christ combine. I am so grateful and thankful to have you here on this journey of self love and self discovery with me. In today's video, we are going to talk about how to stay valuable. Okay, I don't want to call it value. Let's just call it how to be true to who you are. But before we get started, if you're new here, go ahead and hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on more uplifting content like this. So get comfortable because we are about to get into it. Let's go. So, keeping your value and being true to yourself is going to be contingent on your actions. It's going to be contingent on how you decide to live your life. I know sometimes, like when you're in the world or of the world, not in the world, you start to feel like you have to live like everybody else. You got to do the things that other people are doing because if not, you feel like you don't fit in. And it really sucks sometimes because for me, I usually always walk the straight and narrow, and I have not been walking the straight and narrow lately. I know that's like so super duper like straightforward and everything, but I like to be real on these videos because I don't want to ever sit here and be a hypocrite. I don't want to ever sit here and pretend as if I'm perfect and I make every right decision all the time. Sometimes I make the wrong choice. Sometimes I do the wrong thing, but not intentionally. Most of the times it's something that happened in life. It was a mistake, a misstep. It's something that, it's a trial, a tribulation, a storm. There's something that happened that caused this to occur. But I also want to make sure that you know that although I am religious, although I am I have faith, I am not always perfect. Sometimes I don't feel like I have faith for some things. Like I have, this is going to sound so weird, but usually the area of my life that I don't have faith in is relationships. And not just like friendships or family members, but romantic relationships in general. And so I could believe for the house, the car, the money, sickness, healing in body, healing in families, generational curses being broken. I believe in all of that. I have faith for all of those things. And my Achilles heel is relationships, romantic relationships, believing and having faith in things like that. And I know some people are going to say it's so weird that you would say that when you have a relationship with yourself, when you can build relationships with other people, but romantically, you have this you have this kryptonite or this thing that's just not easily sustained or easily having faith for it. And I also want you to know that you're not going to be perfect in every area. So this is the moment in your life right now where you realize that you are not going to be perfect. You have to do better. Don't feel like because you make a bad choice, because you did something wrong, that it's ever too late. It's always an opportunity for you to do better. Always. God can use all of it. Everything that you're doing, no matter how damaged you think you are, no matter what you think is happening in your life, you can always do and be a better person. Always. There's nothing in your life that you could do that would ever make God stop loving you or wanting to choose you or use your past so that it can help someone else in the future. So how do you keep your value? You do this by first speaking life into yourself. I know I say this a lot, but as a man thinketh, so is he. You have to be willing to say, okay, I'm beautiful, I'm smart, I'm patient, I'm kind, I'm understanding. I am the type of woman who has healthy standards and boundaries and sticks to them. I'm the type of woman who does this, does that, and whatever it is that your core values are, whatever it is that you believe in, whatever it is that you want for your life are the things that you have to speak over yourself. You have to constantly acknowledge the fact that, okay, it's not going to be easy. Some days it's going to be hard, and some days I'm not always going to feel this way. But the more that you speak it, the more that it will seem so, the more that it will come to fruition, the more that you'll start to see more positive things instead of only harping on the negative things, the more you'll start to believe that you really are who you're becoming. You just have to constantly be intentional about speaking into yourself. The next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to stick to your word. This is not always easy because sometimes, like in life for me, when I'm talking on these videos, when I'm other places, things like that, before I get into a situation, I'm like, when I get into this situation, I'm going to do this, this, and this. I just have it all planned out in my head, like, oh yeah, I got this. And then life hits, and I'm really in the field, and I'm like, oh snap, this is harder than I thought it was going to be. It's not as easy to turn down this thing. It's not as easy to stop doing this thing. It's not as easy to always make the right choice, or it's not always easy to be the only one walking this straight and narrow path with no one else there with me. It's not always easy to seem like I'm the only person who feels this way or thinks this way while everyone else is in the world. And I don't mean everyone, like to generalize it, but for majority of the people are in the world. And so for me, when I'm struggling, when I have a hard time, sometimes it's difficult for me to just be like, okay, I'm going to stick to it. I got to keep doing what I'm doing. I gotta keep walking the straight and narrow path. It's not easy, but I got to stick to my standards and boundaries. I have to do the right thing. And you're not always going to make the right choice. I know people on these videos don't like to say that because they want to make it seem like, oh yeah, you just have to choose and then it's easy. It's easy while you sitting here in this video. It's easy while you not in the field. It's easy while you not being tested or tried or tempted. It's easy while I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna offend somebody, and I don't mean it in an offensive way, but it's easy while you got all these guys that you're not attracted to coming at you. When you got the guy that you are attracted to, that you know is your type, that you really do like, that really is doing the things that they need to be doing, then it's a little harder. It might be easy to not eat the wrong food when all of this food is disgusting. But when it's your favorite food, though, you think that's gonna be easy. And for me, sometimes it, like, when I was really, really disciplined with food, it would be really easy for me to say, okay, I'm not gonna eat bread or whatever type of food it is, right? But but it's not always easy. It's not always like, oh no, I'm not gonna eat any. Sometimes it's like, that bread's looking kind of good right now. But you have to make sure that you stick to your word, you stick to your guns, and you do what it is that you say that you're going to do. If you're saying that you're not going to do this, don't do it. If you're saying that you're not going to eat bread, don't eat bread, or find some kind of way to eat something that's a healthier version of that, or do something that's healthier than that version. Make sure that you are being true to your core values and the things that you believe in, because those are the things that are going to make you feel better about yourselves. Those are the things that are going to help you stick to your values. It's going to allow you to really stand flat-footed in the things that you believe in and keeping your faith. Because every time you skew off the path, every time you go another direction, it doesn't make the journey shorter. It just makes the journey longer. And most of the times you end up right back where you were going to be if you didn't go on that wrong path in the first place. And you really have to forgive yourself. Sometimes it's going to be difficult because you feel like you messed up so much. How can you get back in God's good graces? How can you go back to doing the right thing? The wrong thing just seems so easy. It's so much harder to be disciplined than it is to just make a choice. It's so much harder to do the right thing when the wrong thing feels so much better to just feel included, to feel wanted, to feel needed, to whatever your thing is that you're struggling with. And that brings me into the third thing. It's going to be really difficult to stick to your values, to stick to the things that it is that mean the most to you, to really be who you want to be and do the right thing, if you don't have a good, strong support system. I don't just mean, like, for me, I got my A team, but if I'm being honest in this video, I don't have people who usually live the way that I did. And I say did because I'm still a good person. I'm still doing the best that I can. I have not made the best of decisions lately, but it is not a laughing thing. I just laugh in awkward situations. And it's me and some of the people that go to, my church or something like that are older than me. And that's it. I don't have anybody that's my age that's trying to walk the straight and narrow, that's really serious about it, that's, trying to do the right thing. And so when it's difficult for me, I have nobody to call that's going to be like, okay, don't make this bad decision. I'm not one person. I mean, one person that I could call that I would not feel bad or feel like I was like being a burden to someone else. So whenever I get tempted, I have to be strong enough for 10 people. I have to make sure that I make the choice regardless of how hard it is, even though it's really difficult. And I can't call anybody to try to help me make a better decision, because when you're walking in faith, some of the stuff that means a lot to you doesn't matter to anybody else, or it seems like it doesn't matter, because people will be like religious-ish, Christian-ish. They don't really be about it like that. They don't really be about that Christian life. And for me, it's all about relationship with God and trying to do the right thing. I'm not saying I'm going to be perfect, but those things really do matter to me. And if I call anybody in my phone or if I call certain people, they're just going to say, oh no, this is fine. Because, the world's doing this thing. The world's okay with this. The world's okay with that. The world's okay with, gambling or, and I don't want to just throw specific things out there, but I feel like it's good to have examples so you know exactly what path I'm on this video. But a lot of the people would just say it's okay, even though biblically it's wrong, even though it's not the right thing to do. And it's really hard to stay strong when you're tempted, when you're in situations that are hard, when you're trying to do the right thing, but it's normal to the world. And you don't have one person that's going to be like, nah, girl, don't do it. You doing too good to not do the wrong thing in this situation. Every single person will be like, oh, that's fine. Well, not every single person. Let me stop generalizing everybody like that. But most of the people would say, oh, no, it's fine. Like, that really doesn't matter that much. Oh, it's not that big a deal. Like, yeah, you're not supposed to do that, but people usually do this anyways. Or it's like some kind of like other version of the wrong thing. Like, like, oh, you can't drink. No, you just can't drink this kind of stuff instead of not drinking anything. Or maybe you drink wine or, and I'm not getting on people that drink. I'm just saying an example, because some people will say you can't drink at all. Some people will say you can drink wine. Some people will say you can't drink anything hard or whatever else, right? But you might someone might say, oh, you could do a little bit of this, or you could do a little bit of that, or you could do, oh, but really this isn't this. It's kind of like every time I get tempted or I get into a scenario where I don't have a support system and I'm really struggling, it kind of feels like that serpent in the garden when he's like, if you eat of this tree, you won't surely die. Like, it's not really that bad. That's how it is. And so that's why it's so important for you to have a good support system around you. I'm working on it. I found someone who is trying to walk the straight and narrow, kind of like me, who is a little younger than me. And she just recently got on her path, her religious path. And that's usually the best when you're a baby Christian, because it's before everyone else's opinion comes in when you're really trying to learn the Bible, And so I'm hoping that I can start like a women's group and have like a few women, maybe even grow it bigger to where we can just go on like a conference call or call each other. Like if we're struggling, we can actually reach out and be like, hey, I'm struggling right now. And we'll say the right thing to do, not just like, oh no, it'll be fine. Like, no, this is what you said you want to do. You need to stick to it. If you really don't want to be on this path, if you really don't want to be like the world, if you really want to make a better choice, I will be the person that will hold you accountable so that you at least have somebody to lean on in the situation so it's not so hard for you. Because I don't have that. But if I could be that for somebody else, it would be so worth it. And that way, when we're holding each other accountable, we can make better decisions. So you keep your value by definitely speaking life into yourself. You have to know who you are, because everybody else will try to tell you who they want you to be. But as long as you know who you are, as long as you keep speaking life into yourself, you got it going on. The next thing you got to do, just reiterating, is you have to make sure that you know what your values are and you stand flat-footed in it. I mean, like 10 toes down. You got to really be about it. Like, regardless of what people say, regardless of what people do, you got to be like, look, I don't know what you're doing, but this is what I'm doing. As for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. You got to really be intentional. And then the last thing you got to do is get a support system. You got to have people that hold you accountable, that really will ride with you. It's going to be hard. I know how hard it is to do it by yourself. Like, you think I'm joking because, I'm usually like always on the straight and narrow, always doing the right thing, everything else, but I have been struggling. And I am really refocusing. I'm reading more of the scripture. I'm doing everything that I possibly can to try to stay on the straight and narrow path. And I want to be a good example for my younger siblings, for my daughter, for other people in my life. And I can't do that by being a hypocrite. I can't do that by saying, oh, yeah, you don't do this, but I'll just do whatever I want. Like, no. It don't work like that. And so I got to be intentional. I got to be real with myself. I got to be able to look myself in the mirror and say, am I proud of the person that I am if I make this choice? If Jesus was sitting right beside me and I had to choose, would I make the same decision? And if the answer is no, that's something I can't be doing in my life. So you have to really figure out what matters to you. What are your values? And stick to it. So thank you for watching. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good afternoon, good night, good evening, all of that.